I personally don't think it's too different. I mean, there weren't many countries that had as much influence as Turkey when it came to the military being involved in politics in the 20th century, and in just a short span of a decade, we've seen that really change, and perhaps too much even. Now the military is almost under assault by politics, but. But I say if it could have happened in a country like Turkey where we saw continual military interventions, then we could probably see it in Egypt. And in the case of Turkey, it came in by changing the laws, was one way, and I mean that's something that Egypt is doing and will have to do. And then I think just a general recognition by the military and the population that it's not time for this type of Mubarak-style militarism. Just as Turkey as a society made a decision that we're not doing this type of military intervention anymore. It's kind of a societal recognition, and then actually, and that societal recognition allowed those laws that they made to actually be enforced and implemented properly. So I don't think it's impossible in Egypt either. And the military kind of made a blunder with the Copt situation a couple 2 months ago. Made a blunder, and that just might make people realize that the military needs to be reformed, and its role in society might need to change.
The best.
Just, could you elaborate a bit more on how influential or not civil society is in the larger conversation ongoing about the Constitution? And then sort of a step from that, how religious and non-religious NGOs and others are engaged in this broader conversation about what it means to be a Turk, the whole identity issue, because that gets a bit at the previous question on the Southeast, Kurdish identity.
Regarding the second part of the question, I would also refer back to the lack of proportionality between civil society activity in the Southeast and civil society activity in Istanbul, Ankara, and Anatolia. Or sorry, west of Anatolia, but I'd say that lack of proportionality would mean that civil society has not played too much of a role in that discussion on what it means to be a Turkish citizen or what it means to be a Turk or Kurdish ethnicity, because there aren't too many civil society organizations in the Southeast in general to kind of engage in some type of discussion about that. And in the last 2 years, as we discussed, the situation has deteriorated there, and as a result, civil society doesn't feel as much openness to engage in discussion, and even on a political level, the discussion has kind of faltered in the past couple of years. And then regarding your first question, can you repeat it again?
How much influence do NGOs and others exert on the conversation surrounding the new Constitution, and what should be changed?
I'm not sure exactly how much influence they have specifically regarding the Constitution issue, but regarding the AK Party's actions in general, I would take it to say that the religious civil society organizations have a significant influence on the AK Party, or a significant back and forth. They cooperate on a bunch of levels. They're very involved. When Erdogan gives a speech, they're very involved in attending it, or when they have meetings, AK Party's meetings. They're often attended by these civil society organizations. So if judging by the way that civil society and the AK Party cooperate on a whole host of issues, I wouldn't be surprised if the constitutional issue was somewhere in there. Although I haven't heard that they've been active in promoting a new constitution specifically, but some organizations do believe in for example, Islamic business practices, or no drinking alcohol. That's not going to be included in the new constitution. But some of the public policies that they advocate for could be eventually addressed in a new constitution. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had a significant influence. And because the AK Party has created a very close relationship with these religious civil society organizations, I would say that the civil society organizations of a less religious character have a much less influence on this, on what could end up becoming a new constitution. I don't think their voice is particularly strong in general.
Non-AK Party affiliated NGOs and parties in that conversation. How inclusive is the conversation? I guess I'm trying to get.
I don't get the impression from what I've researched and what I've read that it is particularly inclusive of those kind of non-AK Party groups. I think that goes to not just non-AK Party groups, but minority groups. There's kind of been a very close relationship just between those religiously oriented CSOs and the AK Party, and I think those other ones feel kind of, I think they've been relegated to the side, not part of the conversation, as much as they would like. So I get the impression that it's not particularly inclusive of them. Although if someone from the AK Party was here, they might disagree.
Tom Dine, Search for Common Ground. Could you talk about Turkish civil society organizations, both religious and non-religious, involvement with American counterparts?
Turkish civil society organizations involved with American counterparts. Have you heard about any particular?
No, I'm asking you.
Okay. I don't. I've heard about certain activities that have American civil society organizations have done with Turkey, but I don't think it's particularly robust in terms of civil society engagement between America and Turkey. And one of the reasons why I maybe don't have much to say on it is just because of all the research I've done. I haven't read too much about America engaging Turkey, and might similarly be proportional to American business engagement in Turkey is also lower than one would expect, considering the size of the American economy, the importance of Turkey, and the size of Turkey's economy. And I think the civil society sector might also fit in that mold, that it's less than one would expect between the size of American civil society and the importance of Turkey. Whereas the EU has been much more engaging of Turkish civil society, engaging in many more programs. So it might be an area for American civil society organizations to attempt to reach out to Turkey on. There's probably a lot of room to reach out on a host of issues.
Yes.
Recently, and you alluded a little bit to it, the relationship with Israel has been changing. Obviously, there's a small Jewish community in Turkey, larger, maybe not that much larger, Arab community. I'm interested, one, whether there are any interaction between the Jewish and the Arab thing. Are there any movement like we have in the United States where you try to bring different religions together and so on, which is a big part now of our multiculturalism we're trying to push? Is there anything relating specifically to Israel, any kind of friendship associations that are existing? In short, is this an issue in Turkey or not really?
I do know that there at least are some initiatives to, but this might also fit in the category of organizations that feel at least they become relegated or that are not too close to the state. But there are some initiatives still to have educational exchanges with Israel, or schools that have some type of cooperation with schools between Israel and Turkey to keep the relationship alive. I don't know how influential it is, but actually through this Young Turkey, Young America program that I was on, one of the members from last year, he actually works in an educational exchange between Turkey and Israel. And I have seen more from what I've read about civil society organizations about organizations that try to breach the gap between Kurds and Turk ethnicities, and even Arabs and Turks. In terms of the Jewish community, I don't actually think that they're particularly active on the civil society front. And I met with a member of the Adana Jewish community, and they tend to stay out of it. I don't know if they have a very organized front, but there certainly have been initiatives to bring the Turks and Kurds together under kind of an Islamic banner, and that's been done through civil society as well as the Arabs and Turks. But this is also maybe an area where civil society could become more active, and there's the legal room for it in bringing Turks and Israelis together in order to work on repairing that. And of course, there would be organizations probably closer to the AK Party that would not be supportive of that, or would be more supportive of a Turkish kind of Palestinian connection.
Last one. Yes.
You mentioned about the increase of civil society institutions in the Arab countries, in the Arab States, and you also mentioned that Turkey is ahead of them actually, compared in regard to the number. Have you examined any concrete contact between Turkish civil society organizations and Arab counterparts, such as in monitoring the elections or promoting democracy and also
I think I think this is actually an area where Turkish civil society has not hit as strong as it could, especially now in the Arab Spring. There's a lot of room for Turkish civil society to connect with Arab countries, at least certainly since the new openings. And in the past, Turkey hasn't engaged the Arab countries in terms of civil society connections as much as it could have, but we've seen a blossoming of that recently. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not just Erdogan from his political perch saying things, but also civil society organizations getting involved. So related to what Kadir said about this IHH incident, that's kind of one extreme incident that occurred, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's many more connections between Turkish civil society and Arab civil society on a host of fronts. And I think Syria is going to probably have a change in the regime within the next 2 years, and it's not unlikely that Turkey will want the Syrian regime to look kind of like what Turkey is like today, some type of secular democracy. And Egypt is also going in that direction, Tunisia as well. So there should be a lot of consistencies between their governmental frameworks and probably their civil society frameworks in the future. So.
I just saw recently on Facebook there was Turkish Arab Youth Summit or something they were organizing in Istanbul. So we see that a lot more now. But Ambassador,
Which language?
in English.
In English?
English is language.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Jacob, and this was a very good, lively discussion. Thank you for coming today. We have more food over there. Please help yourselves, and let's continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.